Well, hey, hello, and how are you, everybody? The final day here at St. John Fisher University for training camp. It obviously still resumes when we get back to Western New York in Buffalo, but Matt Bovee, I'm Dom Tibbetts. Standouts, Matt, so far. I know we have rest of training camp to go, but there are clearly some guys who I
Yeah.
think made their case to get a spot on this very competitive roster when that decision has to be made moving forward. Who's a guy immediately just jumps out to you?
It almost felt like after practice, Josh Allen had read my notes because he got asked about a couple players that have specifically impressed him, and the first name he said was Matt Milano was flying all around.
Yeah.
He's somebody we talked about yesterday. He's somebody we're going to talk about again today because it's hard to come out to practice, and you're here pretty much every single day. You were here every single day. I think I missed a handful of
I
practices.
missed one.
You missed one.
I missed
I was
one.
here for most of them. And Milano was all over the place.
Yeah,
he
he
was
was.
making plays in pass coverage. He was making plays in run coverage. Now, it is important to remember they're not tackling yet, right? So the physicality is not all the way up to 100. But Milano is looking like the player who he did before his last serious injury in 2023. So, really like the camp of Milano. He also, Josh Allen, shouted out Christian Benford, who if I had to pick an MVP from the entire training camp, that's who I would pick because
Agreed.
he has just been so stellar. He's 24 years old. How ridiculous is that?
It's insane.
That this player is still just scratching the surface. I know he doesn't get love as a top 10 corner in the NFL, but it feels like he should, and it feels like maybe after this year he finally will.
Well, Christian, what is he said? Josh said, "Hey, think it's better that Christian Benford isn't talked about," and maybe Christian likes that. That's what Josh said too. I also think that little chip on his shoulder has continually made Christian Benford better. I said it a couple days ago. When he got his big extension this offseason, you kind of always wonder how guys respond in that moment. Christian Benford has so far passed every eye test. Obviously, we'll get to see him as it ramps up in the preseason, as things move on. I also go to the other cornerback, and we're going to get into like the injuries that have helped guys make bigger jumps on this roster. But Tre'Davious White has also looked kind of like the guy he was before. I go back to that Miami Dolphins injury when the Achilles popped for him.
Through the helmet,
and that is such a good sign for a guy who we all thought maybe wasn't going to win the cornerback 2 battle opposite of Benford, but then rookie Max Harrison goes down. Tre'Davious White steps in, and he all of a sudden looks like he had this locked up. Yeah, if Harrison's out there, Tre'Davious White might still be the starter opposite of Christian Benford, honestly, if we're having that discussion too. Christian Benford, I thought defensively looked well. Offensively, we're going to say it again, Tyrell Shavers. I mean, what a guy that has just taken advantage of every opportunity. Now, I feel bad. I feel like we're in Groundhog's Day, though, because we had the same discussions last year, Matt. Then all of a sudden, Tyrell Shavers couldn't get away onto this roster. There's other positions they need to add more depth in. They felt good with the receivers that they had. But I think with some of the injuries to guys like Curtis Samuel, this makes Tyrell Shavers' case as he continues to hopefully ramp up in this preseason to finally make a solidified 53-man roster spot. I thought Shavers looked really good offensively. And in James Cook's absence, I thought just the play from Ray Davis and Ty Johnson, very adequate. Guys who took care of their business, guys who took care of the opportunities that were presented to them. Thought the running backs looked good as well.
I wasn't zoning out. I was looking at my list because I just wrote down all of the players who I had been impressed with, and you mentioned some of them. You mentioned Tyrell Shavers. I have him on my list. I also have Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman's interesting, though, because he's very polarizing, and I feel like if you came to training camp one day, you saw a really good Keon Coleman. Maybe if you came another day, you saw a Keon Coleman that struggled a little bit. So it felt like it's been a little bit too inconsistent, but I will say I think the good days have outweighed the bad days, which is definitely something you want to see. I think it's all about what is your expectation for Keon Coleman? If the expectation is he can be a solid wide receiver 2 right now, then I think that's a very realistic ceiling and goal for this player this season. I don't think he's going to emerge into a number 1 right now, but I think he could bring them some big games, and that would certainly help the Bills because last year, really inconsistent. You could say the same thing about Dalton Kincaid. I feel like if they get more out of both of those players, they're going to be in a good spot. And then the only other name I have written down offensively is O'Cyrus Torrence. He's somebody we've mentioned on these videos a couple times. I just feel like he is going to be the next player from the Bills to get a really big contract. It can't happen now, but it can happen after next season. And at this trajectory, I feel like he is going to be paid and compensated like one of the
all
absolute
capital letters paid.
one of the best guards in the NFL, and I think he might be trending in that direction. So yeah, I mean those are some of the guys that stand out for the right reasons. Anybody stand out for the wrong reasons?
Yeah, it's tough because I'm just going to go with the injuries. I just think Curtis Samuel had just his lack of availability. You just saw the Bills waive and put injury designation for Balen Spector. That's another guy who just could never get healthy. You saw some flashes, you saw some sparks over the years. He had to come in and make some plays like whether it was Matt Milano, Terrell Bernard, Dorian Williams goes down. You saw a lot of Balen Spector. Well, the Bills finally had to move on, and that's what Sean McDermott said on Thursday before camp wrapped up. Curtis Samuel might be a guy where I'm starting to really question What do they do with him?
I don't know.
I think they might.
I think
Let's just say there's a chance they could cut Curtis Samuel.
Yeah,
It's not as big as I think of him just kind of waiting it out and then the Bills kind of swallowing the injury bug and the injury pill with him rather. But I think there's a world Curtis Samuel gets cut from this team.
Well, so here's the thing. They usually keep 5 wide receivers just because sometimes they keep extra guys on the defensive line or the offensive line or whatever it is. So let's go with the obvious ones. They're going to keep Khalil Shakir, they're going to keep Josh Palmer, and they're going to keep Keon Coleman. Those are the 3 definite obvious ones. After that, you have Elijah Moore, you have Curtis Samuel, so maybe you have to make a decision there. And then there's Tyrell Shavers. If they keep 6, I think those are the 6 guys we're talking about. If they keep 5, I think it's 2 of the 3 between Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, and Tyrell Shavers. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out. I think Curtis Samuel's a really good answer for the players who have left more to be desired, and mine's the same thing. Cole Bishop. Cole Bishop
that was my guy on
is the
defense.
starting safety on this team, and we have barely seen him practice. And now the other starting safety, Taylor Rapp, is hurt. So when Cole Bishop comes back, which we expect to be relatively soon, he's not going to be working with the guy who he's going to be playing alongside. And Rapp just has more experience in the league, so it feels like he's going to be able to kind of get over the early season growing pains faster.
Right.
Cole Bishop has not had a full training camp. Last year he didn't. This year he didn't. So it might be a little bit more of a bumpy start to the season than it should be because of the injuries. So yeah, that's just something that the Bills are going to ultimately have to deal with. I still think he starts. I just don't know if it's going to look as comfortable out of the gate as it should.
I think it's tough with the Bills because more than, and you and I cover this team, and I can't speak for the other 31 teams that we don't cover, but the Bills in that safety position, you hear Bobby and Sean talk about how important it is to the defense. I think that's where it hurts Cole the most. It's like, okay, if Cole Bishop was TJ Sanders, he's a defensive lineman, I think the significance of the injury is still there, but the getting back into full speed and understanding this defense in your role is a lot less significant if he's a defensive lineman or even like a Mike linebacker or something like that. But now that he's the safety, the quarterback of this defense, and the amount of responsibility, Bobby Babich kind of went after Jordan Hancock a little bit and just was like, hey, he's a rookie, a guy who's trying to learn this too. Like, it's complicated. It's complicated for rookies like Jordan Hancock. That's a guy who's missed 2 straight training camps. Him getting ramped back up here, I think, is a little bit more of a steeper slope than it is any other position. That's why I also agree with Cole Bishop too, kind of being my guy that you're just a lot of question marks. Same thing with Curtis Samuel. And I know injuries are tough, and I'm trying to give each of those guys the benefit of the doubt that maybe when they're healthy things would have been better. But hindsight's 20/20, and Matt, you just simply don't know.
Yeah, all right. Let's end on a high note because we don't want to be Debbie Downers here. This was a really cool moment that we were able to capture after practice today.
Hey, I got a question for you. I've got 2 tickets to the Ryder Cup, and they're yours if you want. You down for that? Yeah! All right.
This is Josh Allen, and then Nate Forrestal. He is from Akron. He has cerebral palsy. This is not their first interaction. Josh has kind of bumped shoulders with him in the past. There was a viral moment a couple weeks ago where Josh saw him after practice. He remembered him. Well, today, Josh Allen presented Nate with 2 tickets to the Ryder Cup, and as you would imagine, there was a phenomenal response, so that was really, really cool. Happy we were able to share this video. So training camp has come to an end. Well, here in Rochester, camp continues back there. What are you going to miss the most?
Oh, man, I'm going to miss that twin-size bed I've been sleeping on 11 out of the 12 nights. I will say, I'm going to go to it probably on the way. I'm going to go to the Pittsford Dairy because I'm going to miss the Pittsford Dairy a little bit too.
Good ice cream.
There's nice, we go out the kind of the group around the beat that we like to go out with, go out to dinner, hang out afterwards. Like, Sean McDermott talks about the camaraderie and chemistry of the locker room. The Bills beat kind of gets a little bit closer too when we're all going out having a good time. I think that's what I'll miss the most too, but I also won't miss sleeping on that twin bed. I can't wait for my queen bed back at home to welcome me with open wide arms later tonight.
You know who's happier than anybody the training camp has come to an end?
Would it be your daughter?
My wife, because now she has a little bit of help for our crazy 2-year-old's daughter. That is Dom Tibbetts. I am Matt Bove. Thank you so much for following along during the entire course of the Rochester portion of training camp, but don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We've got Bills content coming at you every single day right here from Channel 7.